topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Houston. Welcome to another Ask the Experts show where we bring you the top experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Today's show, I have been working with the president of the company, I would say probably 7 years now. I have such high respect for our expert. In fact, another one of our clients in Florida is being hit by the IRS. And the first thing I thought of was Barry. So let me welcome Barry Fowler, who's the president and founder of Taxation Solutions. They handle tax relief. He's an enrolled agent, and we'll discuss what an enrolled agent is today on the show. He's licensed to represent taxpayers before the IRS, the mean IRS, who can now carry a gun. His experience in the tax and finance industry spans over 30 years. Fowler's expertise includes tax resolution, tax planning, tax return preparation, and he's been instrumental in helping thousands of people resolve not just tax problems, but complex tax problems with the IRS. And I just, as a footnote, you never want to go up against the IRS without the help of a Barry Fowler. I am telling you, you do not, these people are very good at what they do. But you know what? So is Barry Fowler. Good afternoon, Barry. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Steve. How are you today? It's great to be back on Ask the Experts again this month. It's I always enjoy this program because I love talking with you and talking about what we do and how we do it. One of the big things that told you what we really want to talk about today is maybe the back half of the program, but resolution. What have we done for our clients? Kind of get out there. How much money we save people, on a monthly basis, doing this for taxpayers and fighting against the IRS. It's what I enjoy doing, and it's the principles behind this business.
Barry, what's amazing with you is your whole life is about negotiating with the IRS. And every time you come on the show, you are so upbeat. It's amazing because those people are really good at what they do.
They are, but we're better.
Yes.
That's what makes it fun. It's in enjoying what you do and enjoying the art of negotiation, so to say, makes everything worthwhile to me to be able to do this for our clients, for the taxpayers, knowing how bad for years the IRS has been, makes a huge difference in our clients' lives, and it allows them to sleep at night, allows them to get rest, and knowing that once they sign that power of attorney with us, 2848 that we have with the IRS, we step into their shoes. They never have to talk to the IRS again. And if they do, they get one of our business cards and they just refer these agents to us. So we take care of it and we get to deal with it for them. And, knowing that these people can go to sleep at night, they can go back to their wife and say, hey, I hired Taxation Solutions Tax Relief. They got my back. They're taking care of us. And, here we go. And that's what matters to me.
Barry, you and I have done a lot of these shows together, including other states, but I got to tell you the funniest story, and I think you're going to be shocked that I remember this story. I don't remember all the details, but basically a new client came to you that owed hundreds and thousands of dollars to the IRS, and you took them on as a client. And I think they ended up only having to pay out of the hundreds of thousands of dollars, like $3,000 or $4,000, and they still weren't happy. I mean, do you remember that story?
It's one of those things that they expect miracles. Well, we did pull off the miracle.
You did
3,000, but they didn't want to pay the 3,000. They only wanted to pay 100, or they didn't want to pay anything at all. Why do I have to pay anything?
Right.
Actually, one of the best settlements that's out there. It's a very small amount, and and we do that every day. There are all kinds of people out there that, hey, sometimes you make them happy and get that real low settlement. Sometimes they don't quite qualify for that low settlement, and they don't understand because they heard the ads.
Right.
Somebody else had that said, hey, we can settle you for nothing, or we can settle you for the dreaded words, pennies on the dollar. Yes, it happens. We always call it, the best solution possible that we can get. And we work within the laws and the regulations of the IRS, but we have some great proprietary programs that we run that help us, make a determination. Hey, this is what we can do. And then we explain why we can do this, or why this settlement is going to be the way it is, or why you only qualify for an installment agreement, and we've got to go get penalty abatements to get some of this reduced and get you on the right track. Every single person's different. Every situation is different. It's how we work through it that makes the big difference for our clients who hire us to fight the IRS for them.
Barry, I don't want to get political, but I got to tell you, I think nowadays there's a lot of people out there that do not want to pay their taxes because they see how this government spends our money. And, I'm probably going to get in trouble about this, but there's people crossing our borders illegally that we put up in hotels, not just hotels, some of the finest hotels, and they get a cell phone and they get everything. And guess who's paying for it? Not the government, us. We're the ones paying for it. And it just makes you cringe to pay those taxes when you know how crazy money is being spent.
And you and I have no control over that. It's how you vote, and it's how your friends and family and neighbors and everybody else votes that makes the big determination out there. People come here for freedoms, and if you let the government trample freedoms, however it is, taking our money and spending it, it's going to be what it is. That's why people leave, states from like California and come to Texas, come to Florida, Tennessee, these states that don't have these huge income taxes out there. It is what it is. But, we've got to all work within the environment that we're given. And if we're going to make a change, it starts with us, and it starts with our friends and our family. And that's the way it's going to be. We support the military. That's what government should be, supporting our people that defend our freedoms every single day. God bless them. Thank you for the service, everybody, if you're listening.
Tell me if you've noticed a difference yet, because they're hiring all these new agents who can now strap on a gun. In fact, they made a big deal about it. Their employment news that, now as an IRS agent, you can carry a gun now. Are things different now? In fact, even though I know you've actually had to train some of these IRS agents because they didn't know what they were doing.
I'll give you a good story for this week. And This all happened in the last 5 or 7 days, somewhere around there. I have a client who's going through an audit. God bless my client. He has no support for this audit whatsoever. I called to delay the audit. And I normally, when I talk to a revenue officer or a desk agent, they very cooperative and let me delay for a little bit so we can gather the information and everything else. I'm talking to him and he's kind of getting uppity with me. And I quoted some IRMs, which is the Internal Revenue Manual that they go by to do this. This guy starts yelling at me over the phone.
Oh my gosh.
And he is just going off. I'm like, sir, you just need to calm down and let's just have this discussion. It's not a big deal. We just need to get through this. We just need this extension. I told him, hey, look, if you're going to continue, I'm going to report you to your manager. I'm going to have to, go to taxpayer advocate. I'm going to have to go to somewhere else just to get the things we need to get done that we're allowed to have by law. And he goes, you keep talking, I'm going to hang up on you. And he just slammed the phone down. Okay, fine. I called his manager. His manager was like, what? Yeah, he told me what he did, but he said you were being too quotey of the Internal Revenue Manual. Too quotey of something you're supposed to know everything about before you're talking to me. And so we kind of laughed about it. And the manager, she goes, well, I'm just a sub manager. So then I was going to let it go and go to the audit when we reset this audit and everything. And then he called the other day and he got nasty. He goes, well, if that client isn't coming with you, which I have power of attorney. I stepped into his shoes. I'm the client now. Right. I represent the taxpayer. I know all my rights. I know the taxpayer rights. And he goes, if they don't come, I'm going to hit an administrative summons. Sir, do what you got to do. I don't really care if he comes as an administrative summons. He's going to sit there and not say anything because I'll do all the talking. That's the privilege of hiring me. Okay. Called the manager up. Manager went, he did what? Yeah. Can we sit in on this audit with you? Ma'am, I just want a new auditor. Yes. That's all I want. This guy isn't going to give my client or the taxpayer a fair shake whatsoever. So we're having to train, she's like, well, can you let me sit in so we can train him together? Well, can you pay me your salary so I can train your desk agent? No, we're not going to do this. So yeah, we're getting a new agent for this guy. And we got a little bit of support. We might win some stuff, but he had a very, very bad tax preparer that prepared this return for him. So we're having to battle that too. So that'll be a whole nother story and whole nother fun talk about an audit, somewhere down the road.
Unbelievable. Barry, I got to ask you, because you've been doing this for a long time, and I have so much faith and trust in what you do for your clients. Tell people the difference between your company, Taxation Solutions, how you differ from other tax resolution companies out there.
Well, first off, we don't just sign you up to sign you up. We're going to make sure that we're going to be able to provide you some tax relief or help you in some way. A lot of companies out there will just sign you up, tell you, hey, you qualify for offering compromise. We're going to bill you $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, whatever that number happens to be. And you get in there, you start working with them, they'll tell you, hey, you don't qualify. You have too much equity in your house. You have too much in your IRA or 401k or too much in assets. And we just set you up on a payment plan. But they build you for the full gambit of services because, to be honest, you wanted the pipe dream, you bought it. Okay. I mean, that's the way I look at it. You bought the pipe dream. Here at us, if us and talking to you, we cannot determine exactly everything you owe, and you don't know exactly. We want to get you through doing a tax analysis. We want to find out what it is and then come back and say, hey, this is the actual thing you qualify for. This is how we can settle the debt. This is how we can help get rid of it. Because not all the time is it going to be an offering compromise. Sometimes it's an amending a tax return. Sometimes the IRS is just completely and absolutely wrong. I'll give you a good example. We had a lady that came to us, had $792,000 in civil penalties. That means Payroll taxes weren't paid. The IRS assessed these penalties against her. She just worked for this company. Admittedly, it was a family company. She didn't own it. Her dad and mom did. But she worked there. And the IRS came in. She never went to any of these trust fund penalty interviews or anything else. And the IRS assessed all the trust fund penalties against her, as well as anybody else that was in the family. Well, they went to somebody else and they were like, yeah, we can get you a settlement. Well, these things don't settle if you have assets. And she happens to own a really nice home in Florida. And she happens to own a nice rental property here in Texas. And there was going to be no settlement. It was going to be fully paid. But she was not responsible in any way, shape, or form. So, we could have easily been like everybody else. We came in and said, hey, the settlement actually is not a settlement. It's get rid of these penalties 100%. 6 months later, every dime of the penalties plus every dollar that they pulled out of her account over the last few years for trust fund penalties and every tax refund that she got that they took to go to against those penalties was refunded to her. Penalties wiped out to zero. And she got all her money back.
Yay.
Which is the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
The IRS was completely wrong. Granted, the taxpayer never did what they were supposed to do or what they should have done at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. There's ways around it. There's ways to fix it. And that's what we need to be able to do. And we need to be able to do this for people across the country. Fix the problem. Whether you're right, the IRS is right, the IRS is wrong, whatever the case is, we've got to find the best way out of it.
Barry, I love what your company does is, listen, when you owe the IRS money, you owe money and you're getting those letters in the mail and it affects you mentally. But when you take over for a client, you no longer have to, or they no longer have to talk to the IRS and possibly say the wrong things. You take that responsibility right up front.
Yeah, we want to take the weight off your shoulders. We want to get you out of the equation. Everything's, when you're dealing with your own problem, or sometimes you're dealing in your own negotiation, whether you're buying a house, whether you're buying a car, whatever you're doing, sometimes it becomes emotional and you become emotionally charged. When you take that out of the picture, we're not emotional over here about it. We know the facts. We know what we've got to do. We know the rules. We know the requirements. We know what we've got to do for you as a taxpayer. We're not having to be emotional about it because we're stepped into your shoes and we're trying to help you. When you get an IRS agent saying, hey, you owe $100,000 or $215,657 as Mr. and Mrs. Ray had to pay. Did change names, so I protect the innocent and the guilty. But, if you were having to deal with that, you would have been very, very emotional about it because you don't have that kind of money. We got that person, Mr. and Mrs. Ray, a settlement of $62,768. Hey, it doesn't sound like a great number, but it's only less than a third of what they owe to the IRS, and they're able to come up with that to be able to do it. That's why they get the settlement. Or Mr. G had $53,314. You can imagine the IRS trying to get that when you don't have the money to pay for it. Wow. He had a little bit of equity in the home. He ends up paying about $5,885. So it's those kind of things that just make people go, hey, wow. And I got another good one for you. Mr. Val, he owed $325,779. A couple of great years of income coming in, never paid his estimated taxes, couldn't afford to make the payments on those taxes when they became due, let it roll, a lot of penalties. You want to know what he settled for?
I can't even imagine.
$960.
Wow. Wow.
So,
did he wash your feet?
No. I wouldn't let anybody do that anyway. But he has given us some good reviews around in our Google pages and Better Business Bureau, which we are A+ rated in Better Business. And then we take people like Mrs. C. She owed $101,849. Unfortunately, she's not in a spot where she should be getting a settlement, because it would actually extend statute of limitations. It would cause some other problems down the road for her if she had problems. And, when you do an offer in compromise, you've got to be 100% in compliance for the next 5 years. We knew that would probably be an issue. But she said statute of limitations were coming up within the next 2 years. She didn't have a lot of money coming in. We could get $101,849 put into a non-collectible status. And with the statute of limitations running out within 2 years, all that would go away. So offering compromise wasn't the right program for her. It would still work, but it's still leaves her liable for 5 years. We have to look at those things, and we put her in non-collectible status. It'll go away in 2 years. It's those kind of things that when we go home at night and we're going, man, we're celebrating a huge win, and the client looks at me and goes, yeah, but the debt hasn't gone away. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but this is going away in 2 years. And I know you. I've learned who you are over the last 6 months, and you're not going to be in compliance for 5 years. And then you're going to have 101,000 plus penalties and interest coming back when you fall out of compliance in 3 years. Let's keep you in compliance for 2 years, 101 go away, and we're done. We're all happy, right?
That is a sweet deal.
It's things like that, or audit rep. We do audit representation too. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard. Had it Denise and Mike, and they allowed me to use their names. They owed $1.5 million out of an audit because they couldn't come up with anything to support anything. We went back and did an audit reconsideration on it and got them down to owing $28,000.
Wow. God.
It took us 2 years by the time we forced this through. We were fighting through COVID. We were fighting through IRS agents not being in the office ever, even though they're only half the time, if that now. And we fought through all those things to get this through over the last 2 years. But we walked away with, pretty much $1.5 million going away. I mean, we were having a party here at the office. They were having a party, they're up in Ohio and having a party up there going, hey, we couldn't have asked for anything better than this. I mean, these are the fantastic things we do. We also set up.
Hey, Barry, we got to get out of here because this show goes by so fast. For those that are listening on radio, give them your phone number.
All right. So, hey, here we go. Here's how to get a hold of us. Taxation Solutions Tax Relief. Give us a call now, 10% off the cost of service. All you got to do is mention Ask the Expert Show. Our number is 877-996-6477. You see it scrolling right there at the bottom, but anybody on the radio, it's 877-996-6477. Check us out at taxationsolutions.net. Again, it's taxationsolutions.net. We're here to help you, man. Just give us a call, friends, family, whatever, and ask for that discount.
And Barry will be back with us again next month. If you missed part of the show today, you can go to iHeart and just put in there Ask the Experts Houston, and you'll be able to bring up Taxation Solutions show today. It's actually up there right now. Barry, have a great weekend. We love you, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Steve-O. Have a great day and great weekend.
You too. That's Barry Fowler. He's such a good guy, too, and we're so lucky to have him. Let's just go now. We've got our next expert with us, and I got to tell you, we've started this show off with Stop Snoring, and we're still there, but we've also added, because he's one of the finest dentists in the city of Houston, we've also brought in implants, which we're going to talk about today. Let's go to our next. He is definitely an expert. Dr. Van Slate.
Yay. Hey, Steve-O.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. It's good to see you.
You always are doing fantastic.
Thanks.
You know, I got to tell you, one of your patients called us up. Marie, I'm going to look it up. And she was just writing us to tell us you did her implant work and what a great job that you did.
Great.
But the letter was mostly about what you did to her mentally, how you helped. She was always afraid to smile. She said, I had a strange smile because I was hiding my missing teeth. And what she really loved about you, Dr. Van Slate, was how you basically took her by the hand, walked her through everything, and it took a lot of, she was really scared going into this.
Sure.
And she was just bragging on you what a great job you did.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Steve, that's great thing about our profession is that you can change people's lives by changing their smile. You know, it's like this. I mean, I love to do fillings and root canals and things like that also, but that's not going to change somebody's life. It might get them out of pain, but man, when you see somebody that hasn't been able to smile because they're afraid of where they look and all of a sudden they're smiling, wow, that is just a game changer and why I do what I do for sure.
That is absolutely amazing. Well, first of all, tell everybody about your practice.
Well, I've been in practice for about 30 years, right out west of the Galleria, and I'm a general dentist, general practice, and I just got a wonderful staff. But we do the main stuff that you'd expect any dentist to do. We do everything from dentures to fillings to root canals, but we really do a ton of high-end cosmetics, and we do, you know, everywhere from restoring implants and doing things like that. So we've been doing it for a long time, and I've got a great staff. It's really experienced, and we all enjoy what we're doing.
Well, we're going to be talking about implants today, and there's so many things that people don't understand about implants, and hopefully we're going to be answering all those questions today.
Sure.
Dr. Van Slate, tell everybody what is an implant?
Well, you know,
how do they work?
Yeah, a lot of times when we're talking about implants, you really do have to start at the basics, because I'm always amazed that people come in, they really have no idea what an implant is. But
we assume.
Yeah, we assume a lot. So, you know, we've been doing implants now since the 80s. And so we've got a good 40-year track record of success with dental implants. But I love models. I'm going to show you a couple of models here.
Good.
Evo. But basically, what an implant is like a titanium screw that is placed in the jawbone, and it just simulates a natural tooth. I think what people may not understand about an implant is that the implant is only the part that's in the bone, okay? On the implant, once it's healed, we can then put in a abutment in, which sticks out above the gum tissue, and then we can put a crown on top of that, and that's what gives us the look of, this is what the implant can do. And there's nothing in dentistry when we're missing a tooth that can simulate, function, and feel like a natural tooth more than an implant can do. And they're easily placed, so usually with local anesthetic or an IV, and the post-op discomfort from these is really not a big deal. It's not a hard thing to go through.
Well, I'm going to admit something you have never admitted on air. Now, I'm in Florida. Dr. Van Slate's in Houston, but I had implants put in. First of all, I hate pain. It was not painful at all.
Good.
And it was an incredible experience. And I've had mine for 12 years.
That's awesome.
That's really amazing.
Sure.
Because there is an expense in there, but Dr. Van Slate, I got to tell you, it was worth every single penny.
Yeah, I hear that all the time, Steve. Initial cost might be a little much, but yeah, I hear it all the time where people are always glad that they did it.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider what those implants do, it's just worth every penny.
Sure.
Now, when people get a bridge because they're missing a tooth,
yes,
has implants actually replaced bridges?
Well, that's a great question, Steve. You know, when people are missing a tooth, or a couple of teeth, they've got a few options. one of the options is a partial, which I don't know if, a partial just looks something like this, where the person might be missing a few teeth, and this snaps into the mouth, and it's removable. You take it out. The next thing is a bridge. And so what a bridge basically is that is an appliance that you can place that looks kind of like this, where let's say a person might be missing this tooth right here. The two teeth beside the space, we basically can reduce these or drill them down, and then we can place a bridge on the top, which takes the place of that tooth. Now, when we talk about implants replacing bridges, I will tell you that implants have now pretty much become the standard with a single missing tooth, because with a bridge, if you get decay around a tooth that a bridge is on, or if you have periodontal disease, well, you have to have that bridge remade, right? I mean, because you have to have it all redone. With an implant, all you're doing is dealing with that one tooth. And implants have a 30 plus to a lifetime longevity, whereas you might get that done one time and you'll never have to worry about it again. It's going to feel and function and look just like a natural tooth. And so even though if there's any downside, it might be because implants can be a higher initial cost, but in the long run, my gosh, you're coming out so much further ahead, because there's not going to be the redos and things like that other types of dentistry might require you to have. And so I think it's worth it because of that alone.
John, how are the implants, how are they cleaned?
Well, I will tell you this. Great question. People have to realize that just because it's an implant and it's titanium or whatever else you have there,
right,
you have to clean them and take care of them as much or just like a natural tooth, which means you still got to brush well, floss. Water floss is really a big component of this. Use mouth rinses. You need to be really diligent with your home care so that you don't have problems with your implants.
Yeah, because you got to take care of them. They're not going to take care of themselves. I've just got a question. John just came in. How long does it take to have implants put in?
That is a great question, and that can vary. I will tell you this. With an implant, when it is placed, the most important thing we can do when an implant is placed is allow time for that bone to heal around the implant and make it a natural part of us, right? We call that osseointegration. It can take 3 to 5 months for that to happen. So the reason why there's a variation, if you get one in your lower jaw, the lower jaw bone is kind of like mahogany, Steve. So if you put an implant in there 3 months later, man, you're ready to go. You can put your crown on it. On the upper jaw, it's more like styrofoam or balsa wood. So on those, you might have to wait up to 5, maybe 6 months to make sure that the implant is locked in the bone. And it's real important for people to understand the longevity here, because when we place an implant in the bone, the most important thing we can do once the implant is placed, no force, no stress can be placed on the implant. So that's why with temporaries, a lot of times on the back teeth, we won't even place a temporary in there while you're healing. But on a front tooth, sometimes you have to have something to heal because you don't want to go without a tooth. So we make a device like this. It's like a tray that basically snaps into somebody's upper teeth, and there's no force on the implant with those. So that's how we get around that. But the longevity is really about the healing of the bone, making sure that it's locked in.
Can I assume that everybody is a good candidate for dental implants?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that most people are good candidates for implants. I would say that when I'm looking in there and we're trying to decide, somebody a candidate, probably the first and foremost thing is, look, do they have a good density and a quality of bone? Is there enough bone thickness for an implant? So, if they do, great. If they don't, we can graft. We can add bone if we need to. But as far as more of a health reason that we watch for, some of the people that we have to really take consideration for is you're going to have some people that maybe have had a recent heart attack or stroke that we got to use caution with. Immunodeficiencies like lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, people with uncontrolled diabetes are a challenge that we have to make sure about. There might be bleeding disorders like anemia, hemophiliacs, which we have to use caution with, and always the big ones, heavy smokers and people that are taking those drugs for osteoporosis. They have delayed healing. So we really got to, that doesn't mean they can't get an implant, but we got to really use caution with them.
It's sad, I guess, if you see someone who doesn't qualify, because I guess half the battle is just getting him there in your chair.
Oh, sure, sure. And the good news is, Steve, most people can get a dental implant. I mean, it's not often that I have to tell somebody no.
Can we talk a little bit about bone grafts? Because I know that's very important also.
Yes, that is a great question. This is something a lot of people just aren't familiar with too, is that when we talk about grafting and implants, the grafting in dentistry really came into widespread use with dental implants because of adding bone when we need it. But we do a graft either if we have a place we're deficient of bone and we need enough room for the implant. In other words, we need to have 2 millimeters of good bone around an implant to really make it lock in. And so we also use grafts like when we take out a tooth, Steve, and we want to place some graft material into the socket to conserve and preserve that socket. People need to realize when you have a tooth taken out, in about a year, 60% of that bone volume has resorbed. And it's about 0.2 millimeters a month. So what the graft does is we place graft material so that that doesn't happen and that we really conserve the time for the implant. But I think as far as the implant, I mean, a bone graft material, what it is, it's basically a demineralized, freeze-dried bone so that it's compatible, and it's great for adding bone to a person. But I think the main thing I want people to realize is that the bone that we put in is usually a cadaver bone, like we call it an allograft. But people need to realize that it just serves as a scaffolding for their own bone. At the end of the day, your bone takes over that bone, so you're left with your own bone. It's not the cadaver bone that remains with you. We call this turning over of the bone, and it takes, like I said, about 3 to 5 months. But grafting is so important, and it's really a very it's an easier thing to do than you think of.
Can you eat, once you've had the implant, it's healed, can you have anything you want to eat, or is there anything you have to stay away from?
Great question, Steve. You know what? I tell people this. I mean, again, remember, the key is no stress, no force on an implant. So I usually just tell people, don't do a lot of chewing at the implant site, right? I mean, it's common sense. Most people aren't going to do that anyway. But you just want to make sure that I'm not going to say that you can't eat certain foods, but I just tell people to really just be cognizant of not putting a lot of stress with chewing right at the implant site.
Dr. Van Slate, I've got to say this. I don't think I've ever told you this on air. We have other dentists that we do in our other markets.
Sure.
Dr. Van Slate is our exclusive when it comes to snoring, sleep apnea, dentistry. And I got to tell you something, especially because I understand about dental implants. As a man, I was very nervous about it, extremely nervous about it. And, sometimes you'll sit down and you'll talk to a doctor or a dentist, and you have no idea what they're talking about, but you don't want to sound dumb.
Oh, yeah.
But I got to tell you, when you explain things to people on here, first of all, you can tell by your delivery how sure you are of yourself and the way you communicate, which is really important.
Sure.
Even if you're just having cosmetic dentistry done. And I got to tell you, someone would be so lucky to have you as their dentist.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve.
Because, I really mean this, because just the way that you communicate with people is so important, especially when you're getting ready to spend this kind of money with dental implants.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I don't know if you see, you never know how you come across to people, but gosh, over the last 10 years, I've spoken to a lot of dental implant. Some of them do teaching. Our guy in Austin, you are amazing. You really, the way you explain it, you would want someone like yourself to carry you from step one all the way to the end. And we really do appreciate having you as our dentist. And even we started off with about snoring.
Yeah,
but
snoring and TMJ. Yeah, that's right.
When we went to dental implants, we had so many people contacting us, how
sure.
great the show was, but I want to get back to the dental implants. And next month, Dr. Van Slate will be back with us again. We'll get back on track talking about snoring because I have sleep apnea.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very important subject to me. And if there's a way to get that mask off, that CPAP, even if it's something you put in your mouth, it's just the fact that it's so hard sleeping at night with that CPAP machine on.
Yeah.
And we'll get back. I promise everybody we'll get back to that next month. So now tell me something. I remember I don't have a problem putting you on the spot, Dr. Van Slate, but how do you differ from other practices in Houston?
Well, man, you did put me on the spot, didn't you? Well, you know what?
I would.
Hey, I will tell you this. I will never sit there and tell anybody that I'm any better than anybody else. I love what I do. I've been doing it a long time. We've had pretty good success doing what we're doing. But the main thing that I think that you'll find coming to our practice is you will see very quickly that my staff and me, we all love to hang out with each other. We're all friends, not just coworkers, I mean, we really have a nice, pleasant environment in our practice. Matter of fact, one of the people up front, I went to high school with her, Sherry and I, who well, Sherry. Yeah, Sherry's been practicing with me for 30 years. And then I have Lita in the back who has been with me for almost 20. And I have two hygienists who are just world class, some of the best hygienists at what they do, just incredible people. And so I'm lucky, Steve. I just am lucky to practice with the people that I practice with.
And let me say this, speaking of Sherry, I do a lot of work through Dr. Van Slate with Sherry. And you just said she's been with you for 30 years.
Sure.
She is probably one of your biggest fans.
Yes. I'm one of her biggest fans too.
Okay. Yes. No, but she is so aware of what's going on.
She is.
And she, adores your work. And it must be really nice to have a fan who greets everybody who comes to the door, who loves what you do for people.
Sure.
Hard to find.
Absolutely.
So we love Sherry. Now, for the people who've been listening on radio, let's give them your phone number.
Sure. Okay. The number is 217-690-3575. That's 217-690-3575.
And what about your website?
That's drvanslate.com. I'm in Houston.
Okay. Now, there are some other questions that I wanted to get out before we leave about the all-in-4 implants. I know people have heard about that procedure. Tell people what that means, Dr. Van Slate.
Well, all-on-4, I think a good way to answer that, you've heard a lot about tooth in a day, right? I know.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So tooth in a day, that's kind of a newer technique where people go in and I think this is important to know. Tooth in a day is for people. It's not for a single tooth implant. It's not for one or two in the mouth. It's for people that are losing all their teeth or have lost all their teeth. Okay. The beauty of the tooth in a day is that you can go in and have your teeth removed. You can have the implants placed, and you can have a prosthesis with teeth screwed in or tacked in on the same day. Now,
it's amazing.
It is amazing. Now, remember I was telling you about, the most important thing about an implant is you do not want to create any force of stress on an implant so that it'll heal, right? Well, the way you get around it with tooth in a day is there's something called cross arch stabilization, where the force is distributed along the appliance and several implants so that no one implant takes too much load. So we call that tooth in a day. Okay. And like I said, it's a relatively new thing. When I think of all-on-4, all that really means is, you can see this. I've got this right here. You can see how there's 4 little spots here, 4 holes.
Yes.
All right. So what that means is that you have 4 implants that snap into that. And so it's all the appliance goes on 4 implants, all on 4. Okay. So tooth in a day can be all on 4 if there's only 4, but typically it's 4 to 6 implants. But when I think of all on four, I really think of it more of a conventional approach where we place the implants, allow that 3 to 5 months of healing, then we screw in the appliance. And in the meantime, we might wear a healing denture or something like that, just a regular conventional denture until the healing takes place. That way we know without a doubt that the implants have healed, that they're going to take. There's no guesswork about hoping that they've taken, but that's really the difference to me when I think about all on four as opposed to tooth in a day. But they're the same concept other than the timing involved.
Well, there again, see, it's how you communicate with people, explaining that. But now, if you have your choice, you'd much rather want the implants.
Well, remember, yes. I mean, when as opposed to a regular denture, you're saying?
Yes.
No doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. But, I think that when we're talking about the ways to restore it, Steve, I mean, let's say you're a person that is faced with not having some teeth. And then I have to sit down and have a really heart-to-heart discussion with these people as far as costs, the upkeep on the dental work moving forward. I've got to know what their desires are, what they want out of the dentistry. And a lot of times when people come in and they might have a denture they've worn all their life, they just don't like their denture. Well, they might come in and they can talk about, hey, let's just put two implants in, just like I've got right here.
Right.
Now, I don't know if I can show this good on this, but if you look at these little guys right here, okay,
right?
All those locators, Steve, and see how they look like little snaps or buttons that stick out there? That snaps into the underside of the denture. Okay, it just snaps in place. So we come up here, we put it together, and it just snaps down, just like that, okay? So just that alone can make a denture wearer have an exponentially better chewing capacity. They get more confident, they can chew more things, they just feel so much better just having that, right? That's a big step up.
Yes.
The next step up is, some people want 4. They want this kind of scenario where now instead of 2, there's 4. Even more stability, even more confidence. They can chew more things. So this is removable. So I've always got to know, can you live with removable things that you can basically take off and snap back on? Or do you want permanent teeth? Do you want them to feel, function? Do you want them where they're permanent, you can't take them out? That's the next level, okay? So you can have 4 to 6 implants placed, and then you can have zirconia, really natural, beautiful prosthesis placed in there that's going to feel and function and look as close to natural teeth as you can get. You don't take them out. You can chew just about anything you want to. But there's vast differences in the cost and the timing involved and things like that. So those are the conversations that we really need to have with people to make sure where their comfort level is, what they want in the future for themselves, and we try to guide them through that process before we dive into making decisions.
Final question. This is a good question from a viewer. Says he listens every week. Great show, Dr. Van Slayton. I would like to know, I have dentures, and what bothers me about dentures is if I take them out and I drop them, I'm taking a chance they're going to break.
Yes.
So does that mean that's another good point about the permanent teeth?
Well, it can be. Let me just make myself really clear here, okay? Let's say you have a denture and you do drop it, okay? If it breaks, it's usually a pretty simple repair, right? You just send it to the lab. They can usually repair that denture. It's back in your mouth within less than a week, okay? If you break something that's screwed in, like in porcelain, the cost and the way to fix it is much greater. Now, it's stronger. You might not ever have that issue, but the repairs and things like that are going to be more expensive. And those are things that people really have to understand going into this type of dentistry.
Let's give out your phone number one more time before we get out of here.
All right. It's 281-886-3164. And I tell you what, Steve, I gave out the wrong number before. So I see it scrolling on the bottom here. So I just want people to know that it's 281-886-3164. And that's the number that we want you to use. So thank you for letting me do that again.
Okay, not a problem. Hey, Dr. Van Slate, we love you, bro.
Man,
we'll see you again next month.
Fun.
And we'll get back to talking about snoring.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Steve? I was hoping we could do some cosmetic stuff, maybe talking about veneers and things like that. You want to do that next week?
You know what?
Or next
I would
time?
love to do that.
Why don't we do that? Because we've done sleep a
Listen,
few
so
times.
next month we're going to do, and you know what? We've had people ask about whitening.
Sure.
So can we throw that in there too?
We'll talk about that because this is what I do. I mean, the cosmetic part is what I do a ton of. So we'll dive into that next time and hopefully we'll answer a lot of questions about that.
Okay, buddy.
All right, Steve-O, you're the man. Okay,
week.
thank you.
Tell Sherry hi.
I will.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, see you then.
That's our buddy. He's amazing. Dr. John Van Slate. I'm telling you, not just if you need implants, but any type of cosmetic dentistry. I am telling you, he is the best of the best. We're going to be back with you again next week with more Ask the Experts. Tell your friends about our show. Click on like and share, and let's spread the word. Everybody have a wonderful week. Thank you, Juan. We'll see you guys soon.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.